This feels like a very, parking center just went off. This feels like a very, let's turn that off, large truck. This is not the XD. This is not the biggest one. The XD is that in-betweener truck which tries to fill the slot between half tons and then 3/4 and 1 ton trucks. This is just a regular old half ton. Now this is the Pro 4X version, which means it is their off-road oriented model. Now don't get visions that this is some Raptor competitor. Most of you already know that, but I feel like it's worth it to say this is not a Raptor competitor. This is competent off-road though. You can drive it down trails and be confident, and that's because Nissan have fitted Bilstein dampers to smooth out the bumps and just make it not a totally horrible experience. On the way into this trail, the road was very rutted and I was not uncomfortable behind the wheel whatsoever. Also, Nissan zero gravity seats help a lot with that. And then this has hydraulic chassis mounts, hydraulic cab mounts to just kind of isolate you a bit more from what's going on in a good way. So you've got the Bilstein dampers, you have 18-inch wheels rather than oversized 20-inch wheels, and you have a skid plate for some underbody protection. That's the gist of what the Pro 4X gets you. It's styling-wise, it looks just a little bit cooler than the base S, SV, SL options that are out there, and then it's not as expensive as the Platinum Reserve, the fancy one. Now this is also a crew cab, which means it has 4 proper doors, tons of rear seat legroom, just really good space inside. Nissan offers the Titan in a king cab, which is the half-size rear doors, and then they also offer a really neat trick on the king cab. If you're using it for work, there's a rear seat delete option where they carpet it and add tow hooks against the wall so you can use it properly for work, have tons of room for stuff if you don't need to haul people, and you have spaces to secure whatever you're carrying back there. So if you want to keep your tools and all that stuff inside the truck, that's a very cool option. But here on the big dog crew cab Pro 4X, this is good for bringing your dirt bike or your quad to places, because I wouldn't want to be running the trails in this just because it feels so massive, but to basically get to the trail, fantastic, and then take your true off-road vehicle deeper into the trail. That's where I think this would excel. Take your mountain bike, you could take 50 mountain bikes back there and go. Now this isn't, because this is a crew cab, it gets the shortest of the 3 beds. This has a 5.5-foot bed. There's a 6-foot bed, and then if you need a single cab, so more of the true work truck variety, you can get an 8-foot bed. And now we're talking about some truly usable space. What is also very usable? Oh goodness! It is that VK. I'm not going to get the acronym right. It's like VK5D. I forget what it is. It's a VK engine. It's 5.6 liters. It's a V8 making 390 horsepower and 394 pound-feet of torque, and it's backed up by a 7-speed automatic gearbox. Now, I love that this has a traditional column shift, and then there's a plus-minus button if you want to put it into different gears yourself. Hold the plus button back down and put it back into drive, and then there's a tow mode button if you are towing, so it sets the transmission up to know that, like, yeah, I have a heavy load back there, and I need you to respond appropriately. Now, the rear-wheel drive Titans can tow 9,300 pounds when properly equipped, and then the 4x4s are 9,200. Not a huge difference. It's about a 100-pound difference in hauling capacity too, because in the bed you can do either 1,500 or 1,600 pounds depending on which version you have. The 4-wheel drive gets the edge there. Now with the Pro 4X, it is standard as a part-time 4-wheel drive vehicle. All the literature you're going to read about this if you're building one or shopping for one, it says it's 4x4 only. What they're not telling you is that it is part-time, so you can just put it, there's a dial right here to leave it in 2-wheel drive. So even though it is sold as a 4-wheel drive only vehicle, what that means is that you cannot get a rear-wheel drive only version like you can in some of the other trucks. But it is part-time 4-wheel drive. So you can drive this around in 2-wheel drive like a doofus, like I can occasionally do on this road, you know. Just you can lock the rear diff. The Pro 4X comes with an electronically locking rear diff, so if you really want to have hilarious shenanigans, you can do it. This version, the Pro 4X, also gets hill descent control. So there are off-road goodies thrown at it. If you get it into a place where other trucks might get stuck, you can have a better chance of getting out of that, which is nice. But again, this isn't the ideal trail running vehicle just because it feels so wide. That's where the smaller trucks like the Tacoma and the Colorado really come into their own. Now inside though, it's really nice. Those zero gravity seats I mentioned, which is a Nissan registered trademark thing, which you can get in a lot of their different vehicles, they're really comfortable seats and they feel good here. And then this comes with an optional Rockford Fosgate sound system, which is fine. It's better than a bass sound system. Rockford Fosgate is always a little bit bass heavy, but you can tune that out to balance it the way you like it. The screen itself can get washed out in direct sunlight, and then the icons and the graphical look and design of the screen just feels a bit dated. Sorry, I can't not do that. When you have a rear-wheel drive truck with slightly knobby tires on a gravelly road, you have to do dumb things like driving in. The cabin does a good job of keeping the noises outside. The Bilstein dampers do a really good job of keeping the ride comfortable. So do the seats. And then there's proper sidewall in the tires, which is what you want in an off-road focused vehicle. And the Pro 4X delivers there. The base price of a Titan Pro 4X is about $43,000. This one's about $53,000 because it has a few option packages that just, I mean, it adds things like that sound system. Then there are some other neat features like the little step that's hidden in the back that can help you get in and out of the bed. There are optional storage boxes for the back, which this truck doesn't have, but I know Nissan makes them, which are really cool because they both fit inside the bed. They're removable if you don't want them back there and you need your space, but they are also waterproof. So you could throw ice in there and keep food and drink cold, and then drainable so you can get the water out. So here's a bit of section that's more rutted, and it's fine. I mean, you can tell that the road is rutted, but this truck does a really good job of filtering that out. The brakes, 13.5-inch rotors up front, just over 13 inches out back. This truck stops really well. That's an area where it starts to drive smaller, where I'm talking about driving smaller than it is. This truck hauls the speed down really nicely. And then the torquey motor, there's good grunt, it gets up and goes. Car and Driver tested the 0 to 60 of this truck and said it's about 6.4 seconds, which is fine for a full-size half-ton weighing just under 6,000 pounds. It's a lot of heft to get moving, and then you add heavier wheels and tires for the off-road fun. You know, 6.4 seconds is nothing to complain about. So you have a vehicle with optional heated and cooled seats up front. That's part of the package that drives the price to $53,000. The rear seats are heated as well. Nobody's really offering rear cooled seats in this space or in the non-full luxury car space. It's heated and cooled front, heated rear, which is really funny. So the truck on road if it's comfortable off-road without being too off-road focused, you can assume that it's going to be comfortable on-road. But sometimes that can go too far. So like with the Raptor and the ZR2, you get a lot of nosedive and movement just because there's so much travel built into the suspension. There isn't that much. It's just really the Bilstein dampers smoothing out the off-road section while keeping the on-road equally as comfortable. And that's a nice trade-off when you're not getting a vehicle where you're just really looking to just go destroy off-road courses and try to jump it and do all that stuff. This is obviously not that truck. But if you do decide to get it dirty, you're going to be comfortable. And then when you're done and you get back on the road and you smooth into your zero gravity seat and you put on the proper radio station on your satellite radio and you just kind of cruise home and enjoy yourself. And then you look at the gas gauge and you go,